to become literate in media, how to handle it, what are the ethics about it, how do we find that this is fake and this is right, and this I should look at this video and I should not look at this video. How do we give that this kind of literacy? How can they connect it with their learning process? So a training is required, a sort of experience is needed in this. Now, media literacy for the self, that means for the students and the teachers, and also at the same time for family. Even family where children are young, where parents are looking after, providing them with iPhones, etc., with smartphones, etc. Even they have to be literate in, media ethics, then community at large. So how they can use this for the benefit of everybody. So this was another thing. This has to be done, and I think slowly we are doing it. Then we come to multimedia and multi-model approach towards handling this. Of course, at NCERT, then we started thinking about alternative academic calendar. So alternative academic calendar was developed, prepared for all the classes. Week-wise calendar was developed with links which teachers can use and share with the students and parents. So this academic calendar was developed where, a little bit about media literacy, about, different platforms. This knowledge was given to the teachers. So this was shared with the teachers so that they don't feel that how do they convert their syllabus into alternative calendar. So this was designed. Then, of course, community media. We started exploring how do we reach out to the last child in the last village of our country. It was not only Delhi or metro cities or big cities. We have to cater to the needs of all the learners. We have to make education inclusive. So community media like radio. So we started interacting, rather we started recording lessons on radio. And let me share it with you that these radio programs became very popular because this was the only medium through which, learners could connect with us, could connect with their learning process. So, there were teachers who were volunteering that, they can explain things to the students further. Then community TV sets. So NCERT was recording programs and live channels were also there. NCERT was given about 6 to 7 channels. Through those channels, live programs as well as recorded programs were being telecast. Because radio is available everywhere, even TV sets are available in the community centers. Now, broadcasting via national TV and cable. Of course, teacher training, and we started with teacher training via Padlet. Of course, various other platforms are there. We started doing our Nishtha program via Padlet to train them in to be able to use technology and teach students. Mobile apps, e-Pathshala. Then, of course, NROER, National Repository of Educational Resources. Then I talked to different schools like Kendriya Vidyalaya and JNV. They told that they have taken Google. They are interacting with students through Google Classroom. So whichever platform was available, everyone was trying to use that to reach out to the students. Then next is then, of course, in certain places, this is a newspaper report which I read, that walls became blackboards. And teachers took this initiative. You can look at this picture, that this is a tribal area. Now the schools were closed. They turned these walls into blackboards, and where the children are sitting at a distance and they are learning. And of course, we have heard about sad news also, where parents could not afford smartphone for their children, and there were reports that a student died by suicide. So which is something which we cannot really take, and something needs to be done. So teachers took initiative, especially in the tribal areas, and they said that these children learn through art very well, so they use that media to teach them. So what is the way forward for us? It's the
Kirti
blended mode.
madam, sorry to
Yes, what?
interrupt. Your time
Yes.
is up. Just try
Okay.
to wrap it in another 1 or 2 minutes.
Okay. So blended mode is the only solution for us. It's broadcast, it's telecast, podcast, and our walls become the Blackboard. With this, I think I have come to the end of my session. And thank you so much for your patient hearing, for being paying kind attention to what I am saying. And I think all of us have to think towards this, and we have to reach out to the last child in the last village of our country. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Kirti ma'am. That was a very wonderful and insightful presentation. You had brought in a lot of relevant and pertinent issues, very practical aspects, I should say. I really like the way the one question that you raised, which we should really also think of. So how do we reach the poorest and the remotest of the students, and especially in the Indian context or developing countries like India, where there are no basic facilities like electricity and public toilets and public health systems are not in the right order. We are talking about technology, which doesn't really make sense. So that's a very valid point to think and ponder over, especially for all the educationists working in a context like India. Thank you for that wonderful insights raising through your presentation. And I would like to ask you if you are going to stay back for the question and answer session, or you're going to leave. If you're leaving, we'll have the questions now. Kirti ma'am.
Kindly, I would like to have the questions now.
Okay, yeah, this is only for Jyoti madam and Kirti because they have some genuine issues. All the others, we will take the questions for every 4 to 5 presentations. So please note down the questions. But for Kirti madam, if you have any questions, please uh, put forward them now. The group members, I request you to.
Sir, can I have a question? Can I put forward
Yes,
a question?
yes, madam.
Yeah.
Zarina madam, please go ahead.
Very good afternoon to you, sir, and all the
Good afternoon.
participants, presenters in the group. My question to you, ma'am, is the COVID-19 pandemic was the first worldwide interruption to education. Education system suddenly had to find a way to continue educating their students amidst this disruption. How did education system show resilience?
See, my presentation was all about resilience only. That we explode everything: radio, TV, the TV as a medium, radio as a medium, then Google Classroom as a medium. We developed alternative calendar for the teachers so that they don't feel nervous. How are they going to deal with the syllabus? When will they finish it? So that this is what it is, and everybody is trying to contribute towards it. That is it, and we are still working towards it, and we are trying to
Ma'am,
develop more material so that we can put it on NROER, National Repository of Educational Resources, so that more and more resources are available with the teachers and the students and parents also.
No, basically the question which I really wanted to ask is, how is the education going to reach the poorest of the poor?
These are the efforts that we have to make, consistent efforts like this. And of course, so far as academic input is there, we are doing our best. And then the administrative side, they also have to handhold with us. They have to provide electricity, they have to provide resources to the people. That is administration. And we will give the academic support.
Thank
and
you,
both
ma'am.
have to work together.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, any more questions to Dr. Kirti? Okay. So I would like to pass on one compliment to Dr. Kirti from Dr. Padmini Borua madam. So many
Yeah,
pertinent points, Kirti. So that is what
yeah,
she has commented.
yeah, yeah.
Yes, I do agree
Uh,
with her.
yeah, I
Well
read her
done.
comment. Thank you,
Yes.
Padmini. So many friends are here. Ruchi, Padmini, nice to meet
All
them.
right. Oh, you know each other, is it?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, okay. So
Yeah,
I wasn't aware of that. Okay, good to know that.
yes.
Yes. So if we don't have further questions to Dr. Kirti, we'll stop this question and answer session and we'll go ahead with the next presentation. So I think that's it, madam. Padmavati, madam, you have
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you
sir.
so
you
much.
have
Last
any
one, sir.
question?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Kirti
Okay.
madam, your presentation was indeed very good. But because you are a part of NCRT and I am a school teacher, madam, I just
Mhm.
want you to see that the endeavor of reaching, that is our teaching has to reach the last child in the village. For that, my request is NCRT has to bridge the gap between the government stakeholders and the students, madam.
Yeah, of course. We are trying our level best. We have developed
Yeah,
alternative
yeah.
calendar, but then, as I said earlier also, there are many stakeholders. We all have to work together,
Yes,
right?
madam.
Yes. Like, and you are also one of the stakeholders. We depend a
Yes,
lot
yes,
on
madam.
teachers. Without
But
your
you are
help,
in the
it's
forefront,
not
no, madam.
possible.
So I
Yes.
just asked you this.
Yeah. Thank
Thank
you.
you, madam. Thank you.
Yes, Padmavati madam, that's a very important point that you have raised. But as Dr. Kirti said, all the stakeholders, there are a lot of stakeholders at various levels, and everybody is important. And as madam said, teachers are the most important and the link. So only when all everybody works together, and then the administration also make sure that the basic needs are supplied, only then some real changes can be seen. So thank you, Kirti madam, for the wonderful sessions and
Thank,
all the insightful
thank,
answers. Thank you and
thank,
congratulations, madam. Thank you.
thank you, Dr. Suman.
Thank you. Yes, so now I invite Dr. Ruchi Kaushik to begin her presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Pandi. And
Yes.
I'll just start sharing.
Yeah, we can see your slide. Please switch on your video, ma'am.
Yes, I'm just doing that. I think I should be visible in a while.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Now we
All
can
right.
see the
May
icon.
I start?
Yeah, please go ahead.
All right. A very warm welcome to everybody who's in this session to my presentation, which is titled Rethinking Education During and Beyond COVID-19 Times, Developing Learners' Socio-Emotional Skills. I think I will take Dr. Jyoti's ideas a little further. And in that sense, I'm happy that she presented before I did. But right at the outset, I am just showing you some statements, and as you read through them, just think whether you agree or disagree with them. Now, the reason why I have these statements in front of you is because for the last year and a half, we have all noticed visible changes in ourselves, in our students, and also in the teaching learning process, all because of the pandemic. And we've all sort of evolved our own coping strategies to the challenges that we met with during our classroom interactions. But I feel that we haven't really done enough in terms of sharing our experiences and stories. And I'm glad that we are having conferences of this kind where we can just sort of share what little interventions we've done in our own respective spaces so that we can know of good practices and integrate them wherever possible. Now, some of the pandemic-related psychological issues in students that have come up during the last year, and a lot of research is happening in this area. In fact, some of the emotional, feelings, negative feelings that have been identified in students are stress, anxiety, fear, depression, boredom, loneliness, and insecurity. And some of the major reasons behind these emotional states are the following. First of all, the fear related to the disease, because students are worried, they don't want to contract the disease, and they don't want their loved ones to be tested positive for COVID. Then the second very important stressor has been the forced transition from face-to-face to online teaching. And of course, we've all grappled with this ourselves. So we know that there are some inherent problems related to online education, such as inequitable access, inadequate bandwidth, absence of human interface. But primarily, students are still dealing with that, enforced transition. The third very important factor is the uncertainty that surrounds their academic and professional lives. Simple questions like, will they have their semester end examinations or not? Will they have their internships? If they are, exiting the college, will they get jobs or not? So these are real-time issues that students are grappling with. Fourth, very important stressor has been identified as the instability related to the family income, because of the pandemic and the subsequent lockdowns. And of course, the psychological state of students' parents. Last but certainly not least is the fact that students have found themselves house arrested for a very long time. And although they're on their social media handles through their smartphones, real social interaction in terms of meeting their friends, in terms of, hanging out with them, that is, missing. And now, the question is, how does social and emotional learning help? And this is exactly what my presentation is all about, that how is it that we can integrate social and emotional learning in our teaching? But before I do that, we all know that it is a process. Social and emotional learning is a process wherein we, sort of help our students acquire knowledge, skills, and attitudes to manage their emotions well and to manage their social relationships better. And the 5 SEL competencies that have been rated as the most important are self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship building skills, and responsible problem solving. Now, research tells us that students who've had exposure to SEL, along with academics, perform better. But unfortunately, SEL has only been adopted in schools. In the West, yes, it is a part of college and university curriculum. But if we talk of India, it is only very recently that something like a happiness, a module has been introduced in the school curriculum. We still don't have anything of this kind in institutions of higher education. And which takes me to my next point, which is that you see, curriculum revision exercises, syllabi revision exercises don't happen very often. They don't happen every 2 years or 3 years in the university. So in the absence of such activities, what do teachers do? And I feel that at least this pandemic has taught us that we need to play a more proactive role. So the fact that, nothing is there, you have to carry on with your prescribed curriculum and syllabus and get how do you intervene. So I'm going to be sharing my story of what I have been doing in the hope that I learn from my fellow participants of similar stories. Now, very quickly, I'll place the context before you. I teach at the University of Delhi in a college which specializes in offering commerce and economics degrees. So my students are BCom Honors first year students. The prescribed course that I do with them is called a Ability Enhancement Compulsory course titled, English Communication. And the prescribed syllabus comprises Theory of Communication and the LSRW skills. So in any case, I do a lot of activities with my students where they have to speak, they have to present, discuss, write, read, listen. The only thing that I did during the pandemic was to tweak my materials a little and integrate more of social and emotional learning. And also, I sort of made my methodology a little more flexible in terms of allowing students more freedom. So if they were not comfortable with, say, the time limit that I set, I extended it. If they didn't want to do a particular assignment, I gave them more choices. If they were not happy doing something individually, I put them in a pair or a group with students they wanted to work with. So little bit of changes here and there. Rationale for sharing it with fellow teachers, I've already shared in the beginning. Now, let me just take you through two sample activities for the positive time. Activity one that I found really working in my classes is when I ask my students to share their pandemic experiences and coping strategies. Now, initially, it used to be sharing any personal experience, and the skill focus used to be speaking and listening skills. But here I've integrated SEL skills, self-awareness and self-management. And the objective is to help students recognize their strengths and weaknesses and to have a better self-perception. And so what we usually do is I begin with some kind of a prompt, okay? And this prompt could be about the emotional journey of anyone during the pandemic. And then I take that as the start off point and ask my students to share what major emotions have they been experiencing during the pandemic. Have those emotions changed over time? And if there have been negative emotions, what have been their coping strategies? And they can use, so this is an individual activity. I give them the freedom to present it the way they want to. Students have come up with wonderful memes on how they've been bored to death during the pandemic. There have been very moving poems related to losing a relative or a loved one. But primarily, it helps students, situate themselves better in terms of how to deal with disasters, a health disaster such as this one. The second the second activity was like an elongated activity, almost like a project, which was on fighting stigma and discrimination during COVID times. And again, the usual way of doing it was to concentrate on students listening and speaking skills. But here I've tried to integrate social awareness and relationship skills. So again, as a prompt, I begin with any contemporary story of stigma and discrimination during the COVID times. For instance, a doctor being beaten up in Delhi because he could not save the life of a COVID-19 patient. And so I use that as the starting point, and I ask students to go to breakout rooms and discuss issues and concepts like prejudice, discrimination, victimization, xenophobia. And then again, because the objective is to help students understand what it means to have multiple perspectives, how to show empathy and kindness towards others. So the whole idea is to take this as a case study and encourage multiple perspectives. And so they're supposed to be looking at it from the point of view of the patient, from the point of view of the doctor, then the media, and that gives them a complete picture of how multiple perspectives can coexist. And we need to have some consideration for other people's feelings and ideas. Now, I certainly noticed that there was a lot of enthusiasm and interest in my class. Of course, there was increased oral output, but I think there was increased participation, and sharing really, helped them build a bond. And as some of the student reflections that I've shared with you show, how they, opened up and came out of their cocoons and started interacting. I am already short of time. I think I've exceeded by 30 seconds. So I will just conclude and say that, these are unprecedented times. They have led to increased levels of stress and anxiety. And I, for one, believe that there is no point in waiting for something to happen at the formal level of curriculum revision. We can intervene, and certainly as language teachers, we do have the flexibility to bring in, wherever possible, integrate SEL into our academic lessons in order to ensure the well-being of our students. Thank you so much for patiently hearing me out.
Thank you, Dr. Ruchi. Thank you for presenting such a wonderful topic. As I said, I personally have enjoyed Dr. Jyoti's title, and in a similar way, as you said, this paper was in tune with that and added more light into that. You not only could present a wonderful theoretical perspective on why these socio-emotional skills are important, but also could you present what you actually did, as to achieve this objective, and also you could also throw some light on practically what can be done. So that was really that was the best part of the paper. And yes, as you mentioned, happiness curriculum is one good, very good initiative started by the Delhi government. I believe it is the first of its kind, which was tried out in Delhi by the AAP government, and later, in Andhra Pradesh, it was tried to introduce, but then, not many teachers understood. So maybe we have to promote it in such a practical way that, teachers and all the stakeholders really understand. As you said, a lot of work in that area in the Indian context to be done.
Yes.
Thank you for such a wonderful paper. And
Thank
in
you.
fact, Dr. Padmini also has appreciated your paper in the chat comment, if you can see.
Yes, and
Excellent
I can
approach and
also,
ideas. And she's also
yes,
shared a resource for
yes.
ACL. I request the members to please make a note of that link. I'm sure it will be a wonderful resource. ACL approach. All right.
Yeah.
So
And I think
we
she also has a question. I
yeah.
think so.
Yeah,
If
we'll take a note of that question now, but we'll have the question answer
sure,
session later.
sure.
Do you include inclusive linguistic practices as part of your supportive pedagogy? Do you encourage students to use other languages besides English? So these were some questions. I request the others to please make a note of your questions. Please write it down, and if it is related to Dr. Ruchi's presentation, and then when we have the common question and answer session, you can put forward your questions. Okay. So thank you once
Thank
again.
you. Thank you.
Congratulations, Dr.
Yeah,
Ruchi. Yeah,
thank you.
thank you. All right. Next, Dr. Zarina Sultana. Madam, if you are ready, please begin. Yeah, we can see your slide. Please switch on your video and begin your talk.
Yeah. 1 minute, sir.
Yes, ma'am. We can see the slide.
Yeah, just a minute. Are you able to see me? Yeah, I think.
Yes, ma'am. The icon is visible, but we can't see you
Is
yet.
it
Hope,
okay with me?
hope it will be. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, we
one
can
minute,
see
sir.
you now. We can see you now, as
Let
well as the
me
slide.
slightly adjust the, the
Sure.
background.
Sure.
I'm
Sure.
so sorry about it, okay?
Your background is absolutely fine.
Yeah, because there was some light. Okay, hello everyone. I'm assuming that those of you who are listening to this particular topic today, you all must have experienced, offline teaching. Every one of us have experienced offline teaching, right? So, but then the current students, the current onset of pandemic has turned the world upside down. We all agree to that. And what we call as virtual learning, it is basically not virtual learning, I feel. It should be called as remote learning. It is remote learning. It has just come all of a sudden, and we all were not aware of that. So with that, let me name my topic to you all: English language teaching during pandemic times, grappling with the new normal, rethinking education, the way forward. Basically, sir, I have focused more on the English language teaching. Rather, I think all the other aspects have been touched upon by Dr. Ruchi and the other speakers. So basically, what I am thinking, I'm going to explain to you all is about the English language. How the English language is going to take a back seat with the implementation of the new education policy. That is also going to come later. So we all were living under the misconception that English can be acquired only through offline teaching or through books, the textbooks, and interacting with the peer group and all that. But when the pandemic struck us, we all, like we were in a state of shock. We didn't know how to react to that. And finally, we all look towards the distance learning, or rather, as I told you, it should be called remote learning. So remote learning was basically not very easy. It's not easy because we all were very technophobic and we had to become tech savvy in order to teach students online. As the other speakers had said, all basically have been preparing for this particular presentation for the past 3 days, trying to adjust, and in spite of that, there is some kind of technical glitch. These come. So then what do we do when the technical glitches come? Who are we to look upon? Finally, even to clear these technical glitches, I feel, the smart machines, the artificial intelligence, which is going to be the future of tomorrow, I think even artificial intelligence will not be able to replace the teachers. Because even to run these intelligent machines, we need skilled programmers. And without the help of the skilled programmers, we will not be able to progress. So in the end, again, it is the teacher. So there's a lot of difference between e-teacher and the offline teacher. With the offline teacher, there's so much, a motherly affection, or you can call it, like we can be a counselor. There's so much personal touch. But e-learning, e-teaching, e-teacher, I mean, this is not going to go for long. Maybe we might be acquiring a lot of knowledge, but in the end, again, we all look towards the personal touch, which is lacking in these technical machines. So even to run these, however intelligent you might be, maybe the technical machines might be able to solve the problems, but the personal touch, the counseling part can never be done through the machines. So moving out to the NEP and the future of English, with the new education policy, we can see, 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. Now, I'm an early childhood educator also. I started my career with an early child educator. So what all I learned is that since those are the most crucial years of our life, and then that is the point we come across so many, we can grasp so many things. And there is so much retention power also to learn new languages. We can learn a number of languages at that age. And when with the importance being given to multilingualism or mother tongue language or the regional language, I'm sure, I feel, I cannot be sure, although, I feel, English will take a backseat. English is the crux of the society. Globally, it is an accepted language. So even when we are going for IELTS and when we are going for higher studies and all that, we have to qualify for the examination. Now with the, once we have the mother tongue, automatically right now also our students are facing the problem of pronunciation, the effect of mother tongue, the regional effect. Every 400 kilometers, 300 kilometers, you will find a slang. When you go to Andhra, when you go to Kerala, when you go to Hyderabad, any part, we all have got different slangs. So when we are giving more importance to English, the mother tongue, to pick up, learn in the mother tongue language, I know we are giving importance to our own mother tongue, but how are we going to reach the people globally? Unless and until we have another alternative language. So I feel, that English might take a back seat in the coming years ahead. This is what is my concern, being an English teacher for the past so many years. I feel the pinch that English might take a back seat. And then, basically, this cards model I have explained. I don't want to touch more upon this, like how the teachers need to, train themselves and how they need to know, how they need to learn the technology from technophobic, as I told you, to tech savvy, what all they need to go, how they need to face the camera. I mean, we are not, even I am, as a matter of fact, even if you want me to go immediately take a class, I can start taking a class for 2 hours also. But when we are all, not very comfortable facing the cameras. We are not very comfortable trying to adjust our face, looking up and down. So the teachers need to adapt. They need to know what is technology. They need to analyze, they need to recognize, and all this is possible by doing and seeing. So this is what I feel, the cards model of Dr. Kumar, Mr. Kumar. I just picked it up and I thought I will just discuss upon this also. So I think I'm heading towards, I don't know how much time is left with me. So I think academically, in order to facilitate the students also, the teachers need to be trained. A proper training has to be given before the implementation of the new education policy. I feel, the teachers need to be trained. So also the students. So also the students should be trained, and vice versa. Even the teachers need to be trained in order to carry forward this national new education policy alongside with the English learning. Otherwise, definitely English will take a backseat. This is what I feel. And going to my first slide, I just want to say, the teaching, the classroom teaching, everything has changed. I see my own daughter, when we are talking about technology, my own daughter, sometimes even when I am busy and I have to attend a lecture, what I do, I just switch on the system and I'm busy with my household chores. We are not focused, we are not concentrating, our minds are diverted. Maybe later, sometime in the day when we get time, we'll just go through the video lessons and just learn. But on the spot, I'm sure, maybe many of you might be interested in listening to me, or many of you might also be doing some other kind of work. So the focus is not there. The focus is lost in this kind of remote learning. So this is So I suggest, there should be a kind of blended learning. In blended, the future is going to be blended learning, I'm sure, because we don't know for how long this pandemic will go on and on and on. With this is the second year with students not coming to college and schools and all that, and then again writing the examinations, they are just being promoted only on online exams. Online exams is like open book exams. Everything we can see through and write. However, we want to be strict, we cannot have that assessment criteria when it comes to online assessment. So this is not going to run, it's not going to go very far, We have to come back to the offline mode. But I think another couple of years till this settles down, we need to opt for blended learning, wherein, there is a remote learning, the virtual learning also, and the offline classes also. This is going to be basically the new norm. So with that, I conclude. Thank you so much. And thank you for patient hearing, Dr. Suman and all the others in the group, Veda and all the others. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Zarina, ma'am, for highlighting the key aspects of grappling with the new normal and the problems involved with it. And also for highlighting, the important aspects of the NEP 2020, wherein multilingualism and the technological aspects. Yes, apart from all these things, as you said, I too agree with you on that. No matter however technologically advanced we incorporate into the education system, the human touch, the human intervention is always important, and unless that is there, all these things might be a waste, might be wasted. So that is a very important point that you have said. And then yes, every 400-500 kilometers our slang changes, and but I don't know why you said in the future the English might disappear. Is it because of
no, sir, not disappear. I am sorry for interrupting you here in between. It is not.
I don't know if I've heard you right, but yeah, you said something like that.
No, it will take a back seat, I said.
Back seat. Okay. So what is the reason?
What I feel, because more importance will be given to mother tongue and the regional languages, because they
That's
are
right.
going to learn the subject in those particular languages. The parents, the mothers might be comfortable teaching their children in Urdu, Malayalam, Hindi, or Kannada, or any other language. So by and by, because of that reason, I thought over a period of time, it might take. That's my personal feeling. I hope it doesn't happen.
So, because if English takes a back seat, you and I, as English educators, also have to take a back seat. I am afraid. So, anyways, I personally feel that wouldn't happen. Your anticipation, because English has now, crept into our lives, our education system, our bureaucratic and administrative system so much that we really can't. Maybe the importance of mother tongue will rise, as you said, but I don't personally think English will take a back seat. It will remain as it is, at least. So thank you for that.
Thank you so
Wonderful
much, Dr.
presentation.
Suman. Thank you for your
Congratulations, ma'am.
feedback. Thank you,
Yeah.
everyone. Thank you.
Yes, and if any questions regarding Dr. Zarina, please note them down and we'll have them taken, yes, later when we have the common question answer session. Next presenter would be Padmavati. Padmavati, madam, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Please begin, ma'am. Do you have a presentation, Padmavati, madam?
Yeah, I do have in my drive, sir.
Okay. You haven't sent it to the mail.
I have sent it, sir.
Okay. Then Veda, I think Veda can upload, madam.
My slide is seen on the screen, sir.
Yeah, I think I've
sorry.
uploaded.
Yeah. I can see it now. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Padmavati madam, you can see the arrows bottom of the slide. Just move the across if you want to, move the slides across.
Whenever you want to move the slide, yeah.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Please switch on your video, madam. Your slide is visible. You can switch on your video.
Sir, shall I start? Hello?
Yes, ma'am. We can see you. Please start.
Yeah. Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir. I do not know whether you remember me, sir. I was one of the 2012 RIE participants, sir.
Yes, ma'am. I don't remember the year, but yes.
Yeah. Because
good to
it's
see you.
nearly 9 years.
Yes,
I have
yes.
changed a lot. Things also have changed a lot.
Good to see you as a part of this conference.
At least by this international conference, I'm able to meet you virtually. Okay, sir. I
happy
feel
to see you too.
those past
Go
things,
ahead,
I feel that really they're happening in front of me in your class and
all
everything.
the best. Ma'am.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir. So I am Padmavati Renikindi. I am just a school teacher working for a high school, government high school for girls, Kazipet, Telangana. Okay, so actually my presentation today is my experience along with my appeal to the department, administration, all the stakeholders and everybody that something is to be we have to rethink in terms of language teaching as well as in terms of education to see that this pandemic time has taught us many things and we were not really prepared. So we have to grapple with the new normal and see that we are supposed to reach not only to the students who have the smartphones, but also to the students who are in the very remote part of the village. Every student is a part of the community and he is a responsible citizen. And And so in order to make him responsible by way of our education, we should see that the education reaches every learner in every village, every part of this globe. So for those reasons, all of us along with me have to rethink in terms of language teaching or in terms of educating the learners. So what can be done? So along with that, because I am also a teacher, but not in the forefront, but still what I have done in my classes with my learners, and also this appeal I want to put forward at this international conference, so that everybody would rethink and see that this is going to go a little forward. So that is my appeal, sir. And right. So at first, what are the factors or what are the causes which made us to rethink that we have to go forward with English language teaching, or with what is that, educating our learners? So what is that to be done? What is to be done in terms of educating our learners? Why did this situation come today that we have to rethink in terms of education? Okay, so the first factor is the pandemic. Its nature of contagiousness and vulnerability, vulnerable aspect related to human beings, or relate as a disease. Its vulnerability and contagiousness. This is the first factor which made us rethink that we can't do with the previous one. We have to switch over to the other one. Whether it could be flipped classroom instruction, Google Classroom, e-learning, e-teaching, everything. All these came into the scene because of this pandemic. And this pandemic had two dangerous features. One is its contagiousness, and the other is vulnerability of human beings to disease. So then what happened next? You came to all the members, friends here, that everything came to a halt. We were at the crossroads. We do not know how to begin with. And our learners were still in the dark. So it was really to say that we were groping in the dark to find out some kind of initiative with which we have to go forward. So that is really, we were grappling to see that something should be done to restore to normalcy. So, and what should be done? Okay, so it is not the time to think forward to grapple. Is it not the time to think forward to grapple with the new unexpected situation? Yes, it is really the time, because already time once lost is we cannot come back. It cannot be returned, as we know. So since time is very, very precious, and it is a fact which cannot be taken back. So obviously we need to grapple with the new normal. Okay, so what should be done? And what, as a teacher, what I did. Right. See, I just showed on the slide what is the effect of this pandemic, that is the coronavirus, on our classrooms. See, the effect of the pandemic was classroom became vacant. And that is, education became a sudden halt. There was no progress, there was no lead at all. We do not know where to start, where to begin, what initiative is to be taken, who has to take the initiative, how should we take this forward. So that was the condition. So we were totally at the crossroads. And to begin with, there were very few people who know about this, how to begin with. And there were very few educators also to educate the teachers how to begin with this education. So now, according to me, what I learned from experience from the previous year, from March 22nd to this day, was the adaptation of technology. So to support teaching our English language. So adaptation of technology cannot do everything in this world. So a teacher supported with technology can do everything in this world. So why should we do that? As I emphasize once again, it is because the new pandemic has made everything upside down. Okay, so how it is upside down? It is when in earlier previous days before the pandemic, I used to take the technology help only to support my teaching. Now it is not like that. The technology is the whole, and teacher has to support the technology to see that, to enhance my teaching learning process. That's how it became upside down. So to grapple with the new normal, to achieve our objectives, see, the situation has changed, but our objectives remain the same. So obviously we have to adapt ourselves to the new situation, that is grappling with the new normal. And the outcomes, whatever the outcomes we have realized when we were rating the objectives, also remain the same as far as our schools and teachers are concerned. So, and also to reach our short-term and long-term goals of English language teaching, also again we have to think over English language teaching, as we already know that in even the previous sessions also, the speakers already told that multilingual constants, English, different kinds of language registers and all this. So when English is a common one and a common path to reach all those people, something is to be done in the area of English language teaching to reach our short-term goals and long-term goals of English language teaching. So how to go forward English language teaching again became a question mark. So we, the teachers, should adapt hybrid classroom, that is F2F sessions and online sessions. This is one solution. Digital learning and digitalization of our English classrooms. As I told you just now, friends, that we have to take the support of, we have to go to technology to support us to see that our English language classrooms are once again revamped, rejuvenated to the new normal. That is blending technology with our conventional teaching and learning process. So learning technology not only for teaching and learning, but also for assessment. In the morning, Mrs. Hema Ramanathan, she in her plenary session, she showed one picture where on the board, everybody was there. All the people, whoever are a part of the teaching learning community, are supposed to take part to see that it is going to become a new normal. So not only assessment, not only teaching and learning, everything is to be done. So learning technology to use teaching and learning material in EFL classroom. So we have to learn technology again, especially to teach English language. Apart from all this, we require online classroom discipline and management in general. In morning, in the plenary speakers session, in the interactive session also, they told about plagiarism. So that also comes under classroom discipline and management. So all these need to be learned by teachers, and also it is to be delivered to the students to manage all things, so that that participation gap would not be there. So as a teacher in this platform, I would also promise that I would try for the same thing. Next, who should do and work? The answer is ultimately the teacher. Although there are many teacher educators and guides to do this, but still the teacher is the one who is wholly responsible, who executes and implements in the class. So for that, what should the teacher do? Learn and adopt technology, making sense of time, adaptability, accessibility, and user friendliness. Finding out the resources on open educational resources relevant to class and level of learners, digitalizing the resources of learning English language. Not only this, self-assessment tools, peer assessment tools, and teacher assessment tools and techniques to assess the progress of learning language. Every teacher should become an exploratory action researcher to find solutions in the path of rethinking. Ultimately, what I tell you is every teacher should become exploratory action researcher, because she has to solve the problems. He or she has to solve the problems herself or himself in the path of this new learning process, and clearing the blocks to avoid online calamities, that is discipline, plagiarism and all this, and that occur instantly. We do not know that is going to happen. Teachers should finally become wise to handle content and technology simultaneously. So so that is the need of the day and need of the hour. Okay, right. So teachers.
Madam, your time is up. So
Yes,
just try to wrap up in 1 minute.
Teachers' responsibility to relearn, to adapt to emerging situation, to clear roadblocks on the path of learning. At the same time, we should not tax our learners also, because they have to learn all this, we should not tax our learners. Teachers need to join short-term online courses to know about relevant technological applications, to read aloud, recitation stories, storytelling, which are very pertinent, which are very relevant to our English language teaching. And teachers should also know and explore 21st century skills while using technology in virtual English classroom. It is because she has to make them do projects and all this. Okay, so allocation of funds for the use of technology, and madam's previous presenters have told about the what is that they do not have internet and laptops and all this. Research studies also madam told. So mentoring language teachers in technology and provide versatile inputs to use technology for developing language skills of learners. User-friendly technology within the reach of learners. Next, technology intervention awareness to be made global across the teaching community. Teaching should not tax the teacher as well as the learner during teaching and learning process. So that is the role of the government. So all stakeholders, non-governmental organizations should combine the importance of learning and developing technical skills among parents, well-wishers and community. This is very, very important because our parents are totally socially and economically deprived. So they need to learn all this because they should have some kind of interface with their children. So awareness of online and virtual mode, which is as good as a real classroom, that also we have to inculcate in all our parents and the public. Language learning at their doorstep needs to be canvassed, and the advantage such as self-paced, no fixed time, self or autonomous learning, peer and group interaction, adaptation of divergent learning styles. This is very, very important to various concepts, skills and sub-skills to learn language. Flipped classroom instruction could be brought to the notice of general community and public at large. People do not know more about it. So that's the reason why we need to do all this. So finally, I would like to conclude saying that our online classroom transaction should be as smart as Amazon delivery or any online delivery. I'm pretty sure it is going to bring oversee change, or it is going to bring about sea change results in our learner community. It is my positive hope. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Suman sir and the others.
Yes, thank you, Padmavati madam. That was a very articulative presentation. You had lots of things to say. I'm really sorry you didn't get enough time.
No issue, sir.
Yes.
I took 1 minute more. Sorry for that.
No, that's absolutely fine. A little here and there is fine. Ups and downs, I mean, little more or less is absolutely fine. It happens with all of us.
It was only a small attempt I made, sir.
Yes. Don't worry about that. First of all, congratulations. Very valid points you have raised. And the suggestions that you gave were very practical. And you introduced yourself as, I am just a school teacher. So please don't think you are just a school teacher. You are a school teacher. You are the grassroots soldier, right? All teacher educators are like scientists who work in their labs,
Yes,
and the real soldiers are who matter actually. So don't think of yourself as just a school teacher, right? So in fact, being a school teacher, a government school teacher especially, they don't only teach, they have a lot of other responsibilities. And in spite of that, that is the reason why normally teachers don't come forward for, these kind of teacher professional activities like participating, writing papers, participating in seminars, etc. So that way I would like to appreciate you for the initiative that you have taken, and really wonderful insights, practical suggestions that you have taken. Yes, I wish all the government school teachers think like this, so that our education system becomes stronger. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Again.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yes. Thank you. Next would be Saminath Ishwar. Saminath Ishwar, are you here, sir? If you are ready, please begin your talk. I believe you don't have a PowerPoint presentation. You are going to do an oral presentation. So please begin, sir. Saminath Ishwar. Yes, we can see you. Yes, we can see you, Mr. Saminath, but we cannot hear you. Your microphone is muted. Please unmute your microphone. Yes.
Am I audible now, sir?
Yes, you are audible. Please, again, your microphone is muted.
Am I audible now, sir?
Yes, you are audible now. Please
Thank
begin, sir.
you. I'm sorry for the inconvenience. My name is Saminath Ishwar. I completed my master's degree last year, and this is my first presentation. And my topic is new normals bearing on early teachers, a brief look at the mode of teaching and education for the future. And my presentation has two parts, in which one part I'll be talking about the mode of education, current mode of education, and the second part I'll be discussing about the challenges that the current teachers are facing. And we know that in the past 18 months, we have been facing a deadly virus, and because of that, nearly 1.6 billion students are out of their classrooms. Because of this, there is a rise in online teaching. There is a scope for online teaching, and apps like Byju's have been offering free lessons, and because of that, they can see lots of increase in their online teaching classes. But for people like me who have been wanting to be a professor, we were not ready for offline teaching. The lack of training for facing the online classes are devastating. Like there is no interaction between the teacher and the student, and there is no interaction between the student and student. Without this, the classrooms become a one-way conversation where the teacher just talks to the laptop. It's increasingly depressing too. And the salary amount for the professors are so low because an aided college in an aided position, we only receive half of the salary that we would have received in a traditional classrooms. So, and also there is a digital divide, which, for example, we logged into the conference early in the morning at 10:30, and now it's 4 o'clock. Usually, a student can go through a day with 1 GB of data, but now it's not possible at all. This it wasn't a necessity a year ago, but now it is a necessity where we need to have a quality internet, a laptop, which is not available to most part of the students. With this digital divide may not seem like a big issue now, but a generation of students are graduating and appearing to colleges now. The students might not be able to get a quality education that was provided a year ago. Though the transition was necessary, it was very hasty, but there was not a hasty transition where most students and most teachers are not qualified to face the online classes. And I have been doing questionnaires for the last 3 weeks, and the answers that I received were professors all around Tamil Nadu said that they do love the online classes, but they would also like to have traditional classes where they can reach out to the students and talk to them and meet them face to face. The mutual relationship between offline and online is important, but it had to be in a steady transition, unlike the transition that we are facing now. That's it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Saminath Ishwar. I'm glad this is your first presentation and it really went on well. So you're a fresh graduate, postgraduate teacher, and
Yes.
then all the best and congratulations on your
Thank you.
first presentation going on really well. And that were some really good insights that you have shared, and good to know that students, prefer, though they like online classes, they would also like to prefer the face-to-face classes, because a lot of things other than teaching happen in the face-to-face classes, like interacting, as you said, student to student interaction, the peer interaction, the social skills, the social exposure that the students, all that would be missing, which really cannot be replicated in any other way. So thank you for that interesting insights and paper presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Uh, yes. So if any questions regarding Saminath Ishwar, please note down and we'll have them. We just have 2 or 3 more presentations. So shall we have the question and answers now for all the papers who are finished, or we'll finish the 3 presentations? We have 3 more speakers left: Shirin Chandi, Chandrima Bhattacharya, and Madhusudan. Shall we finish the 3 and then have a common and final question and answer session? What do you think, group members? Okay, so Dr. Ruchi says, let us take all questions together. Good, that way it'll be a very interactive session. All right then, so the next person is Shireen Chandi. Yeah, madam, we can see you. What about your presentation? Do you have any?
No, sir. I
No,
don't have a
it's going to
presentation.
be
I
a
will
talk.
just be an oral presentation.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. Please begin, ma'am. We can see
Right.
you.
I am audible also?
Yes, you're visible, audible as well. Thank you.
Okay, right. So I'm ready to
Please.
start then.
Yes,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So thank you so much and good afternoon to everyone on this panel. March 2020, India, afflicted by the COVID-19 pandemic, suddenly came to a standstill. The imposition of the lockdown crippled industries, the economy, and livelihoods. The education sector was another area the pandemic ravaged, as all schools had to close down, bringing learning to a halt. Educators across the globe went into a pell-mell regarding the future of education. A consensus was reached, and overnight, education was disseminated, which was till then disseminated physically, was translocated to the virtual mode, in keeping with the requirements that the circumstances presented. Now, this transformation affected all stakeholders. The role of a teacher had to change. She had to become from a knowledge informant to that of a mentor. Assessment methods had to be revamped. Role of a family gained more importance as they shared responsibility with the teacher in imparting education. 2020 online educational methods were a stopgap arrangement to meet the needs of that hour. Respected Chairperson, Mr. Suman Mandi, moderator, and fellow presenters, the topic I'm presenting is Rethinking Education, the Way Forward. That is a sub-theme for the main topic, English language teaching during pandemic times, grappling with the new normal. Education 4.0, in which we probably are in today, has brought us to this stark reality that change is inevitable. The following 3 aspects should majorly change. 1, reshape the role of teachers from knowledge informant to a mentor, thereby promoting students' self-learning. 2, be tech experts. Pick up the challenge the present situation has brought to us and change our mode of teaching to enhance learning. 3, emphasis on LSRW, the 4 skills of English language learning, to enhance proper and effective interpersonal communication. Now, we have been focusing on LSRW in our English classes. Only now it needs tech support, and therefore English learning apps need to be introduced because we are motivating children for self-learning. And we have numerous number English learning apps. Duolingo, the best all-rounder that is there. Quiz Your English, the best for exam prepping. The British Council, the best for grammar. 6,000 words, the best for vocabulary. Bilingu, the best for reading. Hello Talk, the best for speaking. And Grammarly, the best for writing. Now, these should be mentioned to our students, introduced to our students to support self-learning, because that is the way forward. Children need to be involved in self-learning. How do we do this LSRW? Listening. Now, all of us have been doing this in our respective classrooms. It is just that we need to, hike up a little more, change the modus operandi a little more, because we haven't been doing these things in our physical classrooms. So if we move forward with listening, to improve the listening skills, students can actually watch TV programs that are given by the teacher. They can watch podcasts, TED Talks, and movies. Listening is a foundation from where they start learning the English language. The next is speaking. Similarly, to improve speaking skills, students should be encouraged to watch English news channels to enhance language and pronunciation. We have this program called Show and Tell in junior classes, and discussion topics on social, economic, political issues will definitely build the speaking skills in children. The next aspect is the reading habit. Now that has to be inculcated from a very young age. It could be done by parents reading bedtime stories. Children should be encouraged in building the habit of reading simple stories, magazine articles. Age-appropriate links can be posted in classes. A day in a week, the classroom English activity could be read aloud and discussing the review of that book. And lastly, we have writing. All the above work put together, that is listening, speaking, reading, all this put together will encourage writing. This is where a child's imagination and creativity are brought to the forefront. Effective writing and speaking skills are considered to be the skills to master English language. But mastering listening and reading in the foundational stages will greatly support being proficient in the language. So while rethinking how to recreate education in our classrooms, there are 3 different areas to focus on. 1, we need to engage passion. We need to create a session in the classroom for curiosity. Remember, in the physical classrooms, we found it easier. Okay, class textbooks were there. We could move on teaching the children in some manner or the other. Now, one of our speakers said that children are bored. Yes, we find this very, very a regular issue now. They are bored, and therefore we cannot move forward with the regular kind of physical classroom activities that we were doing. We need to create a session in the classroom for curiosity, for wonder and joy with the topics that we are teaching. While teaching literature, the teacher should help the child to visualize the whole poem in his mind's eye. For example, if you're teaching Daffodils by William Wordsworth, the teacher will be able to help the child to find out, have this poem in the mind by the way the teacher describes the poem, right? The second point is imagination. This aspect brings on the possibilities to think differently in English lessons, which will inspire the creative juices to flow. For example, asking the child to change the end of the prose lesson or work on an alternative climax to the story. Imagining happens in the head, and given a chance, the child will start imagining. It's different from a usual textbook teaching, right? Now, the third point is creativity. Every English lesson can be taught in a creative manner. Encouraging the students to think out of the box is very, very important. In junior classes, show and tell sessions help improve originality and artistry. We can also ask the students to give a pictorial expression of a poem that we are teaching. Now, you might think that imagination and creativity are sort of same. Yeah, but it looks similar, but they're not the same. For example, The Solitary Reaper by Wordsworth. The child can imagine the reaper standing alone, reaping corn. Okay, but when he's asked to express that imagination through a pencil sketch, That's creativity. So these are some of the new ways that we could actually move ahead with educating children in English language and literature in classrooms. Now, the present scenario shows the clipping of the wings of innovation of the teacher and the student due to excessive standardized tests, assessments, and lack of freedom of choice of the teacher in classrooms to work around the topic taught to make it more fulfilling. I personally feel the online classroom situation in language classes is nowhere near effective because English language and literature deal with human emotions, and thus physical classrooms and human connect are of supreme importance in English language teaching. Grappling with the new normal is exactly what is happening in online English classes. The challenges are many, but rethinking the curriculum with emphasis on developing research skills, creative and critical thinking, communication skills, social and self-management abilities for both teacher and student is the way forward. Thank you so much. And at this time, I would also like to thank Padmavati ma'am, who said, I'm only a school teacher. That came to my notice also, just like it came to Mr. Pandi's notice. Only a school teacher is not how we should describe ourselves. A teacher, a school teacher, is somebody who lays the foundation stone for the child to move on. If that foundation is not there, then the child cannot progress. All the the studying part, the learning happens in the first 14 years of life of a student, and that happens in a school. And therefore, all school teachers here should be proud that they are school teachers. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Shireen Chandy madam, for that wonderful presentation. And I too really second your opinion that school teachers are the ones who really lay the foundation, and they're a very important part of the educational chain. Unless a school teacher lays the foundation for a student properly, no matter what syllabus, what state, private or government, the students cannot really prosper in the stream of education. Thanks for bringing in a different perspective to the way forward. You have highlighted, the creative aspects, like how important it is to arouse curiosity, creativity, and imagination. So they are really great ways of supporting, as Dr. Padmini also has acknowledged it in the chat box. Thank you, and for those practical suggestions, like how you can do that, so that teachers can carry back these things and try out in the classrooms. So thank you, and
Thank you so much.
congratulations.
Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, so we have finished Shireen Chandy madam. So next is Sujata Menon. Yeah, madam, we can see you.
Yes.
Do you have a presentation?
Yes.
Do you have a presentation, ma'am?
No, sir. I have
No,
no
it's
email.
just, okay, it's going to be an
Yes.
oral talk. Okay, all right, no
Yes.
issues. Please begin. We can see you. Please begin.
I believe my voice is also audible.
Yes, you are audible and visible. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, thank you, sir. So I have chosen the topic rethinking, teaching, and assessment. So in this pandemic scenario, how we are going to teach to the students, it particularly focuses on that, my topic. There is a very big difference between the way we teach in the classroom and how we have to teach in the online when it comes to online. So what I have personally believed is that in classroom, the thing is a teacher's energy gets vibrated, it gets transformed to students, and we, like a CCTV camera, we will be able to see the students, we will be able to control. So entire control monitoring is in the teacher's hand, but the same thing doesn't happen when it comes to online class. So in online class, a teacher definitely has to adopt a totally different method of teaching when it comes to online class. And in online class, the teacher has to understand that in a particular set of students, there will be different knowledge level students. So we cannot, so everybody knows that most people will not be belonging to the same knowledge level group. So in order, the ultimate purpose, that which I believe is that the ideal goal of the teacher is to make the student understand the subject. So for that purpose, being an English teacher, it will be nice if the teacher uses bilingual method in this pandemic scenario when it comes to online teaching, because it is online class, it is not an offline class. Because in offline class, just by looking at a teacher's body language, a student will be able to understand 90%, even if they are having the communication problem, even if they will be able to understand what the teacher speaks in English language just by looking at their body language. But that doesn't happen when it comes to online teaching. So in online teaching, the first thing I insist that the teacher has to, it would be nice if the teacher adopts bilingual, not entirely using regional language, but bilingual method teaching. So first thing is that. And second thing is that mere lecture will not make a student focus. I mean, in order to get a student's attention, in order to get students' concentration in the online class, a mere lecture for 1 hour or 40 minutes, even in that particular case, will not hold water. So what I think is that a teacher, they have to do a lot of hard work, a lot of immense hard work the teacher has to adopt. And it would be nice if the teacher uses certain video presentations or certain interesting PowerPoint presentations to engage the students in that. So a teacher, instead of presenting a mere lecture, if they use more video presentation, more, because these are all small students. So for students, it would be nice if we use, there are more technology available in the online. So a teacher can make use of those and make the session interactive one. So a teacher has to work hard here. In the classroom, when it comes to classroom, what I have personally visualized is 50% spoon feeding only will be happening. Most of the students, they get, that has become the practice. Our Indian education system needs to go a complete overhaul, I believe. So what happens is that the students, instead of, in offline class, the spoon feeding often happens. But when it comes to online class, it is a very nice opportunity for the teachers to make the students work. So we can assign more WhatsApp, we can assign more tasks, group tasks in WhatsApp. So I am here going to tell how each genre of English, how it can be taught with a certain group activities or a solo or individual activities. So I'm just going to tell that in detail. So here the teacher, instead of being a mentor, she will also act as a facilitator. So facilitator, so I believe the meaning of the facilitator is guiding the students to do certain work, to make them do and make them learn it by themselves. So here the teacher will give, of course, they will give some 50% input, and 50% they are going to unload the information, and they are going to be dependent with the resources that they have, and they are going to develop their level of confidence, and team spirit is also going to get developed by doing certain group tasks. So we are going to discuss what those group tasks. So during this pandemic scenario, so I was taking class for a BCom students, commerce corporate secretary, to such batch I was taking class. So English has 5 genres: prose, poetry, play, short story, grammar. So we have such. So for play, what I have did. So for play, what I have did is that the class contained 77 students. So I just divided the 77 into 11 groups. So 77 into 11 groups. So so each group, they will form a WhatsApp group. They will have a WhatsApp group. So in WhatsApp group, 11 students will be there. I have just given certain background information about the play. And what these students are going to do is that they are just going to oral act the play. And what these people will do is that they will take some roles, they will take some character roles, and using online technology, they used to record their voice and they used to merge all the voice, and they enacted oral play. And they also used certain images from Google and thus they made PPT, which will run like a video presentation. So this also makes the student discuss among them, and it also develops team spirit skill. It also develops their confidence level, and it also makes them learn the play by themselves. So for play, such activity I carried out. For a short story, what I did is that I generally, as usual, I used to give them certain background information and the story in nutshell to the students. And what these students will do is that, again, the group of students, what they will do is that they create a script for the short story. So they create a script. So in a class in which I have some 7 groups, okay, each group containing 11 students, it is making me easy to also to read what script they have read. So practically sometimes it becomes difficult when we have to read all the 77 students script. But when we assign it as a group activity, it reduces their difficulty also, and it also enthuses the students to do this activity in a fun and interesting manner. So whenever there is a short story, I assign the group and they come out with a nice script and they read it out again as an oral play. So that happens for short story. And as in the earlier session, as ma'am was telling how to do for poetry. So the same methodology also I adopted. And for prose also what I used to do was that as usual, I used to give the background information about the prose, whatever information pertaining to the prose, and we also have a discussion on the prose. But when it comes to assess the students' knowledge level, so what I used to do is that I ask the students, looking at the text, asking them to use the online technology available. So when I say online technology, so need not think very complicatedly. So what the students will be doing is that they just go to Google, they find the relevant images, and they make a short documentary video pertaining to the prose. And all this, the student, they are not going to do individually. So they take individual responsibilities. Like among the 11 students, definitely one student, definitely or maybe will have some knowledge, technical knowledge, and one student may be good at doing the back-end work, and one student may be good at giving the dubbing voice, and one student may be good at organizing things. So all together, they take responsibility and they come out with a certain documentary, and they give a very nice documentary version on the prose. So this happens. So in online teaching, so what I used to do is I always adopt a friendly atmosphere with the students, because when we ask the students, sometimes the teacher has to be very, very flexible when it comes to online teaching. Because in classroom teaching, maybe we can go the students, or we can give some restrictions, or we can give some condition that you have to submit in with this time. But when it comes to online teaching, the ultimate thing is that they have to complete the task and they have to understand the concept. So that is what the ideal goal of a teacher, I believe. And this is about teaching methodology. And when it comes to assessment, so first thing, what I think when it comes to assessment is that there should be no time limit for exam. We always stick to this time, 3 hours. Within 3 hours, they have to complete writing the exam. But instead of giving time limit, we can give 1 day or 2 day time limit. So that will be nice, because we cannot pressurize in the online class. We cannot pressurize the students like giving them 3 minutes time, because when you pressurize the students giving within 3 minutes time, then they don't take that task as a task, which is assessing knowledge, but rather than it is assessing our ability to complete the test within that 3 hours or not, rather than it is not testing our knowledge. So I believe there should not be any time limit when it comes to online exam. So for online exam, the time limit should be in day limit, like 1 day or 2 days. In 2 days of time, you can give the question paper. And what I think is, when it comes to online exam, 1 in 5 students should get different question paper. 1 in 5 students should get different question paper. And again, I'm emphasizing on the point, when it comes to online teaching, a teacher has to take immense effort. They have to do a lot of hard work. They have to prepare a lot of worksheets. They have to use more online technology. When I say online technology, it's just Google. So there are so many simple MS Office technologies out there. People can make use of that, and they have to simply merely reading the text and telling it to students will not work out in online teaching. They have to come out with a lot of worksheets. They have to prepare a lot of exercises, they have to work out a lot. And so when it comes to assessment part, I mean online exam part, first thing, we should not restrict time limit. In this pandemic period, we have crossed 1 year, but I still see there was no change had happened in the test methodology. So in the exam also, again, the same, what they are doing is that they are giving 3 hours time period. You have to write the test and you have to upload the answer sheet. It only pressurizes the student to complete the task, but it never tests the student's knowledge. So first thing, they shouldn't be given any time limit. Second thing, 1 and 5 students should get different question paper. And another thing I suggest, this is my suggestion, that open book test can be given, but the questions has to be different. The questions has to be different. So when they read the question paper, they should not be able to find direct answers in the Google. So they should not find direct answer. If they type the question, the answer should not come in the Google. They have to refer the textbook. They have to refer some other books if they have. They have to refer various sources to find out the answer. So open book test can be given in such a way that questions also has to be tricky, but it should not be out of box. So I here just going to suggest how certain different questions can be given for this online exam. So for online exam, so what I used to give for my students during my class hours when I conduct test, so I give certain paragraphs from the prose piece, and I ask questions from that particular paragraph alone. So they have to reread the paragraph many times to find out the answer, to write the answer.
Sujata madam,
And similarly,
sorry to interrupt.
Yes,
I think your time is up. Just to wrap up in 1 or 2 minutes.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes. So open book test can be given, and the question paper also need to be set in such a way that they should not find a direct answer in the internet. Questions has to be set, like yes or no question can be said, or a student's opinion question can be asked, like what you would have did in this situation. More sort of that questions should be asked, and every individual paper will be different, and teachers, they have to spend time in reading everybody's answer script, because when we are being flexible, when students behave honestly, then teachers also need to go through everybody's answer script and evaluate and shape them as a good citizen to the country. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. I wind up my session.
Suman sir, I can see you're unmuted, but we can't hear you. Can you just check your input, Mike? Yeah, give me a minute so that Suman sir will be joining back. So I lost connectivity, so he'll be joining. Just give me a minute, and then you can start, madam. Chandrima madam.
Okay, okay.
Can you hear me now, Veda?
Yes, yes, I can hear you clearly now.
Okay, fine. Sorry, there was some disturbance, I believe. Yeah, thank you, Sujata ma'am, for your wonderful insights. We could see you could draw upon a lot of personal experiences. Most of the points that you spoke came out of the experiments that you did with your students. And I'm also glad you talked about the assessment aspect, which is usually a neglected aspect in the traditional classrooms. So even in the online context, we should relook into the assessment. And thanks for all that practical insights. Like
Thank you
you
very
said,
much, sir.
yes, bilingualism, is one thing that we could make use of for our advantage. And even the lecture mode doesn't work. Maybe it'll work sometimes in the traditional class, but not in the online mode. You have received a lot of comments and appreciation, as well as questions. I request you to go through the chat box and then please make a note. You have a question from Padmini Madam, Chandrima, and even Dr. Ruchi. Please make a note of that questions from the chat box so that you can address them or respond to them, while the question and answer session. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so next would be, yeah, Chandrima Bhattacharji. Sorry if I pronounced you wrongly. Yes, ma'am, we can see you, and yeah, your slide is also visible. Please go ahead.
Sir, thank you.
Thank
Am I
you.
audible, sir?
Yeah, you're audible, visible. The slide is also visible. Please begin, ma'am.
Okay, sir. So my the title of my paper is Classrooms of the Future, and English language teaching now and hereafter. In this presentation, I would like to look at how our future classrooms are going to evolve and the teaching practices that we can adopt in order to fit into those future models. There comes a time in the history of the human race when certain events make us transform our previously held beliefs and practices. And the pandemic has been one such event. It has completely overhauled education. And education is one sector where we had to switch on to a different mode practically overnight. And therefore, we had to come out of the physical classroom and go into remote teaching. And we don't know whether we will be going back to our schools. And even if we do, I think many of the classes will still be held remotely. So perhaps hybrid teaching or blended teaching will be here to stay. And therefore, the crisis is like unprecedented. And the only silver lining of this pandemic is perhaps it has brought out the gaps, the missing parts that we had in our teaching and learning processes. And it is therefore a time to think about the whole concept of education and why we need to, it is a time to assess what needs to change. What are the practices that we need to retain, and what are the things that we should be happy to let go? So this is the time now. And if we go to our the English language classroom, we need to perhaps tell our students the reason to learn English, and then think about how to teach and learn. Now, English is a global language. We all know that, and it is something which helps us as a tool to learn other stuff, other languages, other subjects. So when students realize this, perhaps they will be more interested in learning English as a language rather than as a subject in order to score marks. And At the same time, our teaching methods should shift from being teacher-centric to learner-centric. All this while we had in the traditional classroom, we have the teacher talking all the time. But I believe that the English language class should be a class where students communicate with each other. It's a vibrant class where people are sharing and talking, and things are happening. And if that does not take place, then no meaningful language learning will take place. So the suggestions made here are also about the 4 stages of English language learning, that is listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And these have some activities I have suggested, together with the skills that we need to develop in the students, the 4 C's of creativity, collaboration, critical thinking, and communication. In this present world, we need to prepare the children to be ready to solve the problems of the real world. The world has become a smaller place. We need to communicate with each other, and we need the language for that. Also, the problems that are plaguing this world, we need to arrive at a solution collaboratively. We can't find a solution in isolation, and we have seen this with the pandemic, with the work that is going on in the vaccine and all that. So we need to have students who are able to collaborate, communicate, and solve real-life problems in a creative manner. They are able to think creatively and come at solutions. So we need to integrate all these in the language class. So let's look at listening first. And this has been touched upon by a previous speaker. And we need to learn, we need to teach the students to learn to listen, and for comprehension as well as for correct pronunciation. And in order to do that, even in the online mode as well as in the offline mode, we can use a variety of tools like audio clips, which I often do with my students, then podcasts, songs in the English language. My students, I teach in the northeast of India. I'm from Shillong, and here my students are they're very much into Western music. So I use songs in order to teach the language, to make them understand the pronunciation and the vocabulary. Then let's come to speaking activities. The old system that there should be pin drop silence in the class, that view we can no longer endorse that view, because unless the English language class has people who are talking and communicating with each other, then language learning doesn't happen. We need to have students who are speaking to each other. Of course, silence has its virtues. When the teacher is talking or when there is an audio clip playing, students must listen. But otherwise, the teacher needs to give them guided activities so that the students can talk. And these can be group discussions, they can be debates, and in authentic situations, and these can the groups can be constructed in such a way that each student role rotates so that everyone gets to participate. Then we can talk of grammar. Now, in the traditional classroom, or even the way we have been taught grammar, is we have a separate period for grammar, and we do some exercises, the drill that we do. And it becomes really a boring task. So the grammar teaching is necessary if we are to learn a language, if students are to learn a language. they have to learn the grammar. But the rules of grammar are about the application. It's not that the rules by themselves are important. It is how we use the rules, how we apply the rules in a certain context in our communication, that is more important. So grammar needs to be taught in context. So suppose we are doing a text, we are doing a prose piece. So we need to identify the grammar there. So we can identify adjectives or verbs or sentence construction and go along with the syllabus, teaching the grammar in context together with the content. So the syllabus also advances together with the grammar teaching. And then we can also talk of vocabulary, how to teach vocabulary. And we know that unless and until students have a rich vocabulary, they will not be able to understand. So vocabulary teaching is not about learning 10 words each day. It's also about vocabulary learning should also be done in context. So we give them a text. And there are words of which they don't know the meaning. They have to reread the text and try and find out the meaning, try and guess the meaning. And later, the teacher can help them to find out and the meanings through the dictionary or through Google or whatever means. And then those words are to be used again and again, perhaps put up as a word for the day, perhaps have a game with that word and use it in so many different situations. We know in English that a single word can be used in so many different ways. So that can be done. We can also use offline and as well as online games to teach vocabulary, like puzzles, or we have Scrabbles and the like. And then we come to reading. And reading, as English teachers, we are used to telling our students to read. And we hardly get our students to do that. So the best thing is we should realize that extensive reading or reading for pleasure is something that should be built up. And therefore, we can suggest them books, a book to a certain group, to groups of students, so that after they read the book, they come and have a discussion. So they're responsible for their reading, and then only they will be doing it. We can also come to writing then, where we can ask them to keep journals and timeline of a particular character. We can have email writing so that they develop a flair for writing. I've given the example of an essay writing, which is a mundane task, but it becomes boring and monotonous because we choose topics like that. So students, they don't know how to begin. So we can brainstorm ideas for that. Also, in the online mode, we can go and practice differentiated instruction. We can go to the level of the student and suggest them books and activities which are appropriate to their own level. Also, this has been touched by the previous speaker, that if we need learners who are going to be, we are going to have young people who are resilient in the face of adversity, and at the same time are able to develop the skills to bounce back once the crisis is over, we need to teach them social and emotional skills. I will not go into that because it has already been spoken of before, but students are also suffering from anxiety and stress, and therefore we need to give them some kind of activity, perhaps at the beginning of the class, so that they are able to vent out their feelings and they have a safe environment to talk. They are able to express what ails them. And if as teachers, as language teachers, we are not able to teach them that, then who else? I think that after all, it is this ability to speak that distinguishes us from other creatures. So let us strive to build better human beings and world citizens through English language teaching, which will in turn will pave the way forward. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Chandrima ma'am. That was a wonderful paper and presentation. Thank you for highlighting various practical ideas and aspects which teachers could carry into their classroom. You have been very specific in terms of your suggestions and regarding what could actually be done in the classroom, like grammar being taught. If you're teaching grammar, that should be done in the context. Vocabulary should be done in the context, and highlighting various other changes that could happen in the classroom, social and emotional skills, icebreaker, activities, and the silence aspect. I too very much agree with you in that aspect. Many teachers believe, just like other classes, only when there is silence learning is happening, but that's totally opposite when it comes to a language class, because language is all about communication. I very much agree with you on this. Language classes should be noisy, noisy in the sense in a meaningful way. Yes, in an interactive manner. Yes, thank you for highlighting so many practical suggestions to the teachers. Thank you, madam. Thank you for the
Thank you, sir.
presentation.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, the last of the presenters today is Madhusudan. I believe Madhusudan is not in the group. Veda, can you please confirm if
Yes,
Madhusudan?
he's not. Yes, he's not joined.
is-
Even I tried to contact him, so I couldn't able to reach it.
Okay, fine. She wasn't there from the beginning, I believe, right? Yes, okay, yeah. So, which means we have finished all the presentations for today, except for two people, Dr. Sunil Nandal and Manchusa Madhusudan. So, these two were not in the group today. Maybe they had some more, they're busy with some urgent work, I believe. So with that, we finish all the presentations. Now we will have the common question and answer session. So please put up your questions in the chat box. Some questions were already put up for some speakers which they have noted, or you can just raise your hand and then voice. So Samina has raised her hand. Maybe she has a question. Samina,
Yes, sir.
yes, please
Thank you,
ask
sir.
your question and let the speaker
Yeah.
know who is it to.
Should it be directed towards one speaker, or can it be open and any speaker can respond to it?
Yeah, as long as you are not asking a particular speaker, yeah, you
Yeah.
can just ask the
It's,
question, and I think
yeah.
anybody would love to answer that.
Yes, sir. So my question is perhaps addressed to all the presenters today. Thank you, Suman,
Great.
sir.
Great.
My question is, how would you respond to the frustrating huge knowledge hiatus experienced by the victims of the digital divide, which is driven by both finance and geography? So this digital
Okay.
divide is, driven both by finance as well as geography. And then how do we respond to the frustration faced by the victims of such a divide, which is creating a knowledge gap? Like, we have the students of the same classes in different areas, but they're not getting the same knowledge. They may get into the next class, but they're being deprived of the knowledge because they cannot afford it, or they're living in remote areas. So how do we address this critical issue? Any suggestions?
Yes, sir. Can I, ma'am?
Yes, please.
Yeah. A very
Yes,
good
thank you.
afternoon. It was a very beautiful question indeed, and I think it's difficult for us to answer to I mean, satisfy your answer to your question. It's difficult. But then the digital divide, I mean, in a country like India, the digital divide, I think, will always remain. The poor are getting poorer and the rich are getting richer. So as one of the participants in our discussion, the presenter had said, it is very difficult for us to reach the poorest of the poor and the last person of the village. The digital divide, I am, it's unless and until, you know, everything from the government has to take drastic steps towards reaching this. It all depends on the government, how they are going to manage and reach the people. So unless and until the intervention of the government is there, I don't think on personal level, we as teachers, we as educators can solve this digital divide. And again, when you go to the finance part, everybody in a household of four children, everybody cannot own a mobile phone, a smartphone. So I think the platform has to be catered to larger needs. So the government's intervention is very, very important, and trying to, you know, reach out to everyone in covering a larger area. So that this is all I can answer. Whatever has come to my mind,
Yes.
I try to.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
And if I could add to it, please.
Yes, please.
You see, I look at it from three perspectives. One is at the level of the government, second at the level of the institution, and third at the level of the teacher. And the fourth is at the level of peer learning and peer support. You know, let me put it as 4 pillars. Now, you see, we can't really do much as far as the governmental decisions and policies are concerned. So that will happen whenever it happens. But I have a slightly different opinion from, you know, Dr. Zarina. I feel at the level of the institution and at the level of the teachers and at the level of students, much can be done and has been done. And I can only speak from my own example. For instance, at the level of the institution, we raised money, and, you know, so there was this form that was sent out to students trying to find out how many of them were not in a condition to afford a smartphone. I'm talking about a basic smartphone, and I think it came out to something like 5,000 or 6,000 rupees. So we purchased, and we, you know, sort of course, it was very difficult because there were a lot of students who demanded them. We had limited money, but we tried to help. Similarly, you know, we raised awareness amongst the teaching faculty, though for those of us who had laptops, you know, additional laptops or, you know, devices that we were not using, and if those could be donated. So that's, you know, those kinds of initiatives have been taken, and I'm not saying that they've ended the divide, but just to think and wait for an opportunity when all will be well, that perhaps will take a long time. At the level of the teacher, you know, the kind of assignments that you give, for instance, a lot of the activities that I do are discussion based, but when I essentially interact with my students, I tell them that there may be students who will not be able to participate on a very regular basis, and therefore, because there are students who are living in the Northeast, who are living in, you know, remote areas, who have not been able to participate in every you know, online class that I've had. So you have to give them some flexibility, and you have to be understanding. And I think my students have been more than cooperative every time I have reached out to them for help, you know, in terms of sharing notes, in terms of reaching out to students and helping them. I'm sorry, my response was a little long, but I'm very hopeful that all is not lost till we have a governmental decision on how to, you know, do something about the divide.
Yes.
Thank you,
ma'am. Thank you so much. That was very well.
Thank you, Dr. Ruchi. And
Suman sir, may I add just one sentence, if you don't mind?
yes,
Because
yes.
it's
Before
just a
you,
discussion. One sentence. I just want to add.
Samina, yes, go ahead, Samina.
Yes. I'm sorry if I'm hogging on the time.
No,
Madam, and let's, Dr. Ruchika ma'am, let's add the 5th pillar as well, the parental perspective too. How much do they prioritize education, and will they prefer to buy a smartphone for the child to any other need? So how much do they
Absolutely.
prioritize? Yeah, so parental perspective could be the fifth pillar in this regard. Thank you so much,
Absolutely.
everybody.
And Samina, things are changing. For instance, at my end, I have had students who come from such modest backgrounds. I've spoken to their parents, so and these are, I'm afraid these are, harsh realities. A student of mine, his father is a rickshaw puller. So for the longest time, he did not want me to interact with his parents, but I could sense that there was something amiss. And when I spoke to the parent, he was more than willing to do whatever was in his capacity. Of course, then, that ways our institutional support is really good. So we came forward, and again we ensured that his educational trajectory did not suffer because of the pandemic. But what I'm saying is that small steps that each one of us take, or can really make a lot of difference.
I couldn't agree with you
Thank
more,
you.
Dr. Ruchi.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for your wonderful insights and having such a positive outlook. I really think all of us should have that positive outlook. And as Dr. Ruchi said, it's not about ending the divide, which we can never do. And especially in a country or a context like India, we have multi-level systems involved where our individual efforts will never be sufficient to end the divide. So it's always better to see what we can do within the limitations that we share. And thanks, Samina, for raising such a good point. And
Thank you,
I
sir.
see Chandrima Bhattacharji, madam's hand raised. Maybe she wants to add or has a question. Chandrima, ma'am.
Actually, I just wanted to add to what Dr. Ruchi said.
Please
And
go ahead.
I was so happy that the like as you said, the positivity there.
Yes.
Because I teach in a school where most of them are, the students are first generation learners, and parents are not aware. So they would prefer, their priorities are different. They wouldn't buy a smartphone, they would buy something else. And
Yes.
given the fact that the pandemic has brought about a lot of financial
And
difficulties also.
sometimes, to add to what you said, sometimes it is not even a priority, it might be a necessity. They might
Yes, sir.
need something
Yes,
more,
yes.
know.
Yeah,
Yes.
more important, yes.
Yes.
So what we did was we called them in batches, and we spoke to them, and talking does wonders. We spoke to them, and Ruchi madam said, we also tried to ask the students to help each other. Most of them stay near each other. So the ones who could attend the class, who are attending the class, and they could help out those who are unable to do so every time. So this is the way we tried to somehow tide over things.
Excellent.
And I realized that
Students helping each other is a wonderful concept where, this is how, the EQ really cannot be taught in the class, but it
Yes,
can
sir.
be encouraged and developed through such activities. Continue, ma'am.
And so they all came, and I feel, sir, that here in this kind of perhaps because of the pandemic, people are more willing to join hands. Even the children, I teach the teenagers who in the class, they disrupt the class and play the fool. But I realize that when you appeal to these things, they're so happy to do it. They
Pandemic
go out
has
of the way to
taught
do
us
it.
what really matters in life.
Yes,
Both
perhaps.
the
Yes, sir.
children, adults,
Yes, sir.
everybody. Yes.
That's
Yeah,
all,
thank
sir.
you. Thank you for adding those valuable lines. I agree with you. Totally. Yes.
Dr. Gandhi, could I respond to Professor Borua's question? She had,
Yes, madam. Yes, please.
Okay, so she had asked me whether I adopt inclusive linguistic practices when I give them these tasks and activities. And, yes, of course, I do that. And I'll just provide you a sample of the wonderful work that my students do. But I would say that not just, different languages, I also encourage diversity of medium of expression. So, there are activities where students have drawn cartoons, they have come up with mind maps, you know, so different kinds. It could be a video clip, it could be maybe, you know, just recording themselves. I think if the moment you give that kind of flexibility to students, they start enjoying the activity because they don't take it as something that is burdensome. And I will just give you one instance, and this is particularly for Professor Barua. To the task that I had said, you know, remember the one that I discussed in my presentation on how they have been feeling, you know, just a recap of their emotional journey. And this is my student Tanya from section N, and I will just read out what she wrote. वक्त है, ये भी गुजर जाएगा. परिस्थिति कठिन है, पर ये भी निकल जाएगी. माना हर जगह उदासी छाई है, पर अपने मन में एक उम्मीद की किरण जगाई है. शायद ये एक परीक्षा ले रहे हैं भगवान. अव्वल नंबर से होंगे हम जिसमें पार. रखना होगा बस अपना ध्यान, थोड़ा करना होगा सब्र और इंतजार. ये वक्त भी गुजर जाएगा, एक नया सवेरा जल्द ही आएगा. So you can imagine.
Beautiful. Yes,
I hope I've answered your question, Professor Garu.
Yes.
Oh my God, this is incredible. What you just shared is incredible. That's exactly the point I was trying to make. You know, people, language and identity are two sides of the same coin, because you have allowed them to express their feelings through alternative ways, using one of which is, of course, using their own language. You're enabling them, you are giving them an opportunity to understand that they are valued. And that I suppose, the beginning of, you know, learning. So your empathy, your encouragement through allowing them to use different languages, their own languages, in an English language class is something that all of us need to learn from. Thank you so much. You guys are really doing good work.
Yes, Padmini ma'am.
I
I totally agree with you. And as you have mentioned, empathy is very much an important part. And
absolutely,
with teachers and you know, parents showing empathy, and you know, students experiencing it, definitely they would be confident to deal, you know, such situations. I'm sure, you know, what Dr. Ruchi has read out, that student is one of those students, you know, who has come out of that because of the support of people around her.
Yeah, if I may just add one more point, which is that,
yes,
you know, when we talk about development of English language, we keep talking about the necessity of exposure to the language. Now, in a physical classroom, already students from disadvantaged groups or contexts are challenged because they don't have any good role models to, you know, listen to or see or hear English. Now, imagine in their homes, there's absolutely no way in which most children's families can support them with, you know, exposure to the language. So in these times, it's even more important that we find other ways of, you know, providing them with this enriching experience where they can use their own language or own identities and ideas and creativity and imagination and go and learn themselves. So I'm really very, very encouraged by what I'm hearing from the presentations today. Thank you so much.
yes. Do we have any more questions?
Hello.
Yes, Dr. Zarina. Yes.
Yeah,
Please
sir.
go ahead.
I have a question for Mrs. Vijaya.
Yes.
If she's around, if I could ask her, like, you know, she had given a suggestion that, you know, we have to make more number of question papers. Every fifth person in the class should be given a new paper. So how practical it will be in Indian classrooms? Because the strength which we have in Indian classrooms, 40, 50 and 60, and when you go to the remote areas and all that, the strength is more. So how practical it is, and how many questions are framed, and how will the teachers evaluate? So this is the
Okay.
question.
Yeah, I think that's a very valid question. I think Sujata Menon was, you know, talking about the assessment.
Okay, I'm sorry
Maybe
about
she would,
Yes.
Yeah, she would like to
Yes,
answer.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Answering your question, in my presentation, I told 1 in 5 question paper has to be different and not all question paper to be different. 1 in 5 question paper, only 1 in 5 question paper, and we are going to give them time limit, and they are going to write. And teachers also, they also should be given time limit to evaluate their papers. And one thing with our total school or education system is that we are dumping more number of students in a single classroom. The thing is, we have to divide. I mean, in one particular class, the minimum strength has to be 30, maximum it can be 40. So that the management of the college or the school, they have to appoint teachers. But the management of the college, what they are doing is that they are putting one staff for 100 students or 70 students. So that has to be reduced. If that is reduced, the system will work out. And that's what I say. There should be a complete overhaul in our Indian education system. There should be a change. Then once if that changes, our whole India will be achieving the developed status, I believe. So as of now, 1 in 5 question paper can be different. Because we are all having 70 number of students in a class or 100 of students in a class. So that's it.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
And there are two, yes.